Hey guys, I am John Carrick and today we're looking at secret number 7. And this is not a bad comic. It's not a bad comic. It's not a good comic. It's certainly not a great comic. The art is great. The story is at best mediocre. This is kind of a flashback. This is, they're in Switzerland. This is when they're setting up the account a long time ago. These are the heads of the different governments, Russian and American governments that are setting this up. The English aren't involved. It's just Russian and American, but there's 4 of them. And they're setting up a mutual bank account in Switzerland that they are going to funnel money into. And this guy sitting across the desk from them with these big glasses explains to them that it's a family bank that is older than their countries and that it's just a transaction, and they want assurances he doesn't really provide. They want a set of assurances that really they kind of want a certain kind of respect. And he's not a mafia. He's not betraying anyone. He's not breaking any laws, but they are. And they explain this to him, and he says, apologies if I've offended you. And they say it doesn't matter, and they kill him. Now his family still runs the bank, still has that account. But at this point, that money has been taken. Now we cut to the future, to the present, where Grant and Marcus are sitting covered up. This is Mark Strong, who we saw a few issues ago, where he was killing Thomas in England. And he killed one of the other guys too, and asked him about Kodiak, one of the other CIA bosses. And here Grant explains that they've got the money. He's willing to give it back. This guy says he doesn't really care about the money. After Russia imploded, he's got so much money. It's not about the money. He doesn't say it's about the respect, but really that's what it's about. It's about respect. And so he ends up taking half the money. And we don't really know how this shakes out. See, here's the thing. Here's one thing they are doing. They're leaving all these little scenes open-ended. And the scenes aren't compelling enough to make us care, to make the audience give a shit. And they're not telling you what happens. They're just giving you some ending, some ambiguous ending. Like, is you going to feed them to Boris? You don't know what Boris is. But there's all these little ambiguous things until you finally get it explained. We get some of the same thing here. This is sort of the modus operandi of this series. I don't know if it's like this for every book. We were seeing in 100 Bullets how they were 100 Bullets was changing the story style based on the characters. This could be a group of chapters in 100 Bullets. So if I wasn't calling the main guy Miles Stedman yesterday, I should have been, because that's his name. This is James. They burned James' car. James has sent Veronica to the hospital. Stedman is in the wind. And Grant down here. James is like, you want to kill me? Come on up. I'm right up here. And he's like, no, I don't kill anymore. Now this is a good 3-page bit. This is a really good 3-page bit, especially to hear. You think it's over. He burned his car. Are we even now? Well, I don't kill people anymore. So his brother, however, is a different story. Marcus has just gotten out of prison. Grant's hooked him up with more money than he could have ever imagined. Grant is now visiting Veronica. Sorry about shaking that. Grant is now visiting Veronica in the hospital, and she asks if she's filed the divorce papers. He said, yeah. She says, well, then I'll be fine. So no love lost there. And now, so this is in the future from the next scene, because he explains something that hasn't happened yet. He says he's gotten her half the, he says they're now managing partners of, she says, like, what? We don't have jobs. I'm in the hospital. He's like, no, we own the company. So now here's the thing. They didn't get to retire from the company, right? They still have the job. I was watching that show Agency with Richard Gere and Michael Fassbender and the guy who played Leiter in the James Bond movies. And it has a lot of overlap with this. It's intelligence work. And that's what this is. This is a little bit more private industry, private contractor intelligence work. They used to be CIA and now they just work for the CIA. But so he tells her that we own half the company, and he's like, you're the boss. And she's like, that's right, I always was. So, okay. That's the only time a girl smiles is when you let her think she's in charge. And here Marcus and Grant are dealing with Miles Stedman. Now, apparently this has not been done or has already been done. Somehow he's explained to her that they own the company, but they're still closing this up, this loose end. Here's Marcus confirms that the human body holds a lot of blood, so he did kill James. They don't show any of it the same way they didn't show, they don't, like, this book is interesting for the lack of blood they show, despite the murders that happen, So here we get to the end. This is the old, the guy who runs the company and is sure they're going to kill him. He puts his hand out and he explains, your problem was that you took something that didn't belong to you and you got caught. I think that's the only real red we see in this book is that outline right there. Can you guys see that? Is that showing up? That outline around Grant's face? That's actual crimson. The rest of this is sort of orange. But he tells him, you don't get caught. So you're going to cut off his finger. Did I really need to read 7 issues of this for just that? This is that telescopic Matryoshka Russian nesting doll. All right, let's do the next bit. Hey guys, so we were looking at secret number 7. Did I say number 6 earlier? Secret number 7, and I'm John Carrick, the author of Legacy of the Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox. So what right do I have to judge someone else's literature? Because I've got 2 novels done, and I'm about to have a 3rd. And if you have a couple novels done, then by YouTube regulations, you're qualified. Anyone can criticize anything, and I'm not criticizing this. I actually really like this. I just wish, why is it always the money? Like, is this the limit of your creativity? You could make it about aliens or some secret technology, 0-point energy. It's going to change the world. You could have made it about anything. You could have made it about something so interesting that we would buy 100 issues of it. If you could do that. And I know that I can do that. I know that I can do that because I did it with Legacy of a Mad Scientist. And I promise you, if you like comic books, you'll love this audiobook. If you like science fiction, you'll love this audiobook. It's really good. It's a big risk, though, to just, meet some stranger posting videos to the internet who tells you that if you listen to The Legend of Ashley Fox, it's awesome. And it's like a cartoon in your head. It really is. That's what I set out to do. And I accomplished that goal really, really well. It took me a long time, and I was very dedicated to it. And I've got a 3rd one that's almost done now. And I'm working on the cartoons. This is the interesting thing about the cartoons. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. First, let's do the King of Diamonds. This is our last card for Conflicted Deck 2, the final one. Now think about this card. A person wrote this, a human. Now let's not judge which gender they may be a member of, but the card says that you are being chased out of your retreat location by a hostile army that is taking over everything rolling toward it, and you're out of food and you're foraging and everyone is hungry, and your friend's wife offers to sell her body at the next trading post. Someone wrote that card, and it's probably female, because most guys wouldn't write that. A guy, well, maybe a guy would write that. I don't know. That's a pretty horrible thing to have to consider. I hope no one ever has to consider that. I'd rather shoot my wife than let her do that. I'd rather shoot everyone in the trading post and just take everything they have before I let my wife sell her body. And I absolutely would murder everyone else. And she would say, no, murder me first. And then I would murder her too. And then I would have the trading post and all the stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would do. And that's why I'm single and happy for it. And this is Ashley Fox, Ninja Babysitter, The Last Valkyrie. This is a very good comic book out here in the description of the video for today. Description of every video for ashleyfox.ninja and alphachannel.games. And what is this about fiction that is worth doing? If you have a day job, maybe you should just do your day job and never invest in Bitcoin and stocks and day trade. Why do this? Why do literature? Why do fiction at all? Why do music? Why play sports? It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. And this is what's most important, I think. Sports, music, fiction, literature, art. That's what makes life worth living. I mean, right now it's really nice outside because it just rained. It smells incredible. It's really awesome. But it's not like that every day. It hasn't just rained every day. And you know what? Regular life is going to intrude, and it's going to be hard to take advantage of the kingdom that you live in. You realize the sun is the same whether you're rich or poor. When you're out playing a sport, when you're in the zone and you're not thinking about your rankings, life's a lot better. So get in the zone as much as you can and stay there. And that means try for something more. It wouldn't even have to be a lot more. Okay, here's what I wanted to say. This is what I was forgetting. Don't do comics because you want to do movies. Image Comics, you're retarded right now. Don't do comics because you want to do movies. Do movies. Movies are so cheap. Movies are so cheap that every comic book, the DC budget is the cost of the LucasArts cafeteria. Process that. And then think about the power that comics have to tell a story. You don't have to do a movie. You can do a comic. If you can do a comic, don't do a bad movie of a comic. Don't do a WB movie of a comic. Don't do a Netflix movie of a comic. That's terrible. I read The Killer, the Michael Fassbender movie by Netflix. I read it digital. And it was a lot of art of crocodiles and guys dressed as tourists. And there's some storyline. It's no 100 bullets. It's self-narrated, which is fine. But it's also not The Gray Man by Mark Greaney. I don't know how in sync the writer and the artist were for that. I don't think it's a writer-artist book. Might be. But this certainly isn't. This artist's skills are being underutilized. They're not being wasted because this is beautiful to look at. And I'm glad I read this book. I just wish it was about something more. I wish it was about something. You know what it would have taken to make this book amazing? Give Grant and Veronica kids. And then you've got 12 issues of them on the road with a teenage son and daughter. Think about the Ozark, right? I think it was called Ozark, not Ozarks, with Jason Bateman and Laura Linney and their two kids. I think the girl's name was Skylar or Summer or something like that. Do that. That's 12 issues, and they could travel across the country, and you could have the uncle involved. You could do all kinds of stuff. It'd be way more engaging than this. There'd be a lot more opportunity to to build identification with the characters. Do you know what I mean? Think about that. It's still Steadfast or whatever, the company, and now you're sending the other company assassins against the kids that they were all at the summer picnic with. That's a story. Zero didn't have that. Zero was another version of this by Image Comics also. Yeah, I know it was because it's advertised in this one right here. Is it not? Fuse, death. Maybe it's not. Yeah, there it is. And it's the same kind of bad story where no identification with the characters and no one gives a shit. And now in that one, they have psychedelic mushrooms. Okay. Still no magic powers. I mean, why not do the forward, what is it, the astral projection spies? Do that. Do a, what was the TV show? I don't think it was called Hell Shock. But they were basically, the storyline was that the churches, when someone becomes possessed, they have to put them in prison and keep them from harming themselves or committing suicide because then the demon will escape and possess someone else. That's a fucking awesome storyline. That's an awesome storyline. You could do a lot with that. The same way you could do, revival, you could do a lot with a roadblock in the middle of winter. In a quarantine zone for some alien invasion sickness. So don't sell yourself short. And please, please, please go to Amazon.com and buy the paperback, Legacy of a Mad Scientist. Or, for a limited time only, listen to it right here on this channel. Right after this video ends, there will be a link for Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. See you guys tomorrow.